this garden used to be a xeriscape garden, and I'm not sure who started it back in the 90s. It was left unkempt for quite a while, and there wasn't much here except for the established structural plants. Since I'm a landscape designer, I designed the garden, and then we planted it in December of 2017 is when we planted some of them. And we try to plant in the fall because it's the best time to plant natives. Then they have the whole winter to get their roots established and be ready for the next summer's heat. But it's not always the case. Sometimes we plant it in spring. This is basically a meadow over here. We've tried to create 4 different plant communities. And this is hummingbird sage. This is a magnet for hummingbirds. And sometimes if these sages are happy, they'll bloom year round. Now, what happened was there used to be a storage unit here that would give this some afternoon shade, and it since was removed. So these prefer a little more afternoon shade than they get here now. They used to get more. So they get a little bit crispy in the summertime, but they're not dead. They're dormant. They're semi-summer dormant if they don't get any water, and they don't like full sun. So it's too bad that these blue-eyed grass have already gone to seed. That's what you see here. Little seed capsules. They're purple with little yellow centers, and what's nice about those is they're going to reseed everywhere, so you get more of them. And actually, the 2 swaths of different plants that you see right here, this one on the left is a California Aster. That one blooms in late summer into the fall, which is nice because it provides nectar for the pollinators that they're not going to get, not so much of at that time of the year. So they'll have purple flowers, and this one over here is a gum plant, Central Valley gum plant.
This is native Meadow right here.
And so they all spread on their own, which is really nice. Some go summer dormant, some do not. Some, their leaves may be smaller and oriented a little bit different. They all have their own unique ways of coping with the summer dryness and the summer heat. This is heuchera. It's also known by alum root or coral bells, and you can see it's just starting to bloom. This is why they call it coral bells, because they look like little bells hanging. And it's more of a shade plant. That's why it's under the shade of this tree. The tulip tree was planted, I'm not sure whether it was planted at the time the xeriscape garden was created or not, but yeah, we have 2 oak trees here. Those are native, and the crepe myrtle and the tulip trees are not. So this is California fescue. It's a larger form of the California fescue. It's a cultivar called Willet's Giant. Fescues are cool season grasses. So this grass, what I love about it is I love grasses by the way they flow in the wind, they move in the wind. It gives you movement in the garden. And a fescue is a cool season grass, so it's going to be dormant or semi-dormant in the summertime. And as long as you know that and you don't rip it out because you think it's dead, you're okay. Well, at my home, I don't give my fescues very much summer water, and they still have some color, but they have a lot of tan on them too, and that's okay. These are iris. These are Pacific Coast hybrid irises, and when you buy them, unless you buy them when they're in bloom, the flower color is going to be a surprise. because they don't usually label them as to the flower color. So you could get purple, you could get
Okay, yes.
burgundy, you could get white, you could get yellow, you could get cream, you could get a combination. There's a couple iris still in bloom. This one over here.
There's some native bloom. Trying to think.
And this is the state grass of California. It's called purple needlegrass or Stipa pulchra. And these will eventually, you can see where new grasses are starting to come up. Those are not weeds, these are babies. So it spreads really, it's a nice bunch grass, also a cool season grass. But the idea is that it's going to take over this whole area here. This is a California goldenrod. So like the Aster, it provides late season pollen and nectar for the pollinators, and it has a beautiful yellow flower. This is a Foothill Penstemon, endemic to California. And it's too bad that they're not all in bloom right now because they're just starting. They have a beautiful tubular blue to purple to pink flower. It sort of changes all the time. See how you get all those colors in one, and it's just starting out. It's a great pollinator plant too. The hummingbirds love that. I think the one thing that people get caught up with gardening with native plants is the watering. Because a lot of people think, oh, they're natives, they don't require any water. They do require water. It's best to plant them, especially if it's a riparian plant. It comes from riparian areas, of course. These plants have evolved to get by without any water in the summertime, but they're going to look better if they get a little bit of water. So the rule of thumb, after a native plant is established, and I'm talking about non-riparian plants, is you plant them in the fall, then they have all those fall and winter rains to get their roots established so that they can withstand a hot, dry summer, their first hot, dry summer. What I tell my clients is the first summer after planting natives, you water them once a week. It's a deep soaking once a week. The second year you water them every 2 weeks, and the third year you water them every 3 to 4 weeks. Now there's summers where it's just bloody hot for a long, long time. You may have to give it a supplemental water, but make sure they're watered. Generally in the morning is best, early morning. They like it if you simulate a rainfall, so sprinklers are good, although we have drip on these. It's a low-growing buckwheat, and it gets a bright yellow flower on it. Generally, the sulfur buckwheat around here blooms at the same time as the Foothill Penstemon, and it's quite spectacular together, but since they're young plants, they might be a couple years before they bloom. Grasses are great for erosion control. They're good soil stabilizers because they have very extensive root systems. This is California Brodea. So the leaves have come up, but there's no flowers yet. I don't know. The deer do visit this garden quite often, so it's possible that the deer have eaten the flowers. This was here before, so this is not a native grass. It looks like a little bit like a native fescue, but it's not. And a slope is a great place to plant grasses. I like to mix grasses in everywhere I can in my garden. Most of them are full sun, but there are some that like a little bit of shade in our climate. Yeah, they add movement to the garden, and I think that adds life to the garden. The deer grass, I have a lot of deer grass at my house, and I noticed this year that there was a family of quail that like to I don't know if they're nesting in there or not, but they like the shelter that it provides. This particular oak tree had a lot of mistletoe in it, and we finally got somebody to come and cut the mistletoe out. And I guess there was a branch off the tulip tree that was impacting the wires. So they cut that tulip tree back quite a bit, as you can tell. It kind of looks like a popsicle now. And this one had a lot cut off. So what used to be some shade in there is now full sun. This right here is the Shrub Shelter. And the shrubs, they're taking a while to get established. Birds love the shelter that heavy shrubs provide. There are some bush anemone, which is endemic to California, also known as carpinteria. Yeah, I wish these were in bloom. They have such beautiful flowers. See, they're just getting ready to pop. They're white flowers with a yellow center. And that's an evergreen shrub. So most of these in here are, I guess all of them are evergreen shrubs. Cultivar known as Davis Gold. So, you know, most toyons have red berries. This cultivar will have yellow berries. This is not a native Manzanita. This was here with the old garden. What's nice about Manzanita is that it flowers in winter, when pollinators don't have much. The birds will love the coffee berry once it gets larger and starts producing berries. These are some annuals. I put some seed balls in, and we got some annual lupin, and tidy tips is one of them, and I think maybe 5-spot. So we have 2 flannel bushes here at the nature nook. This is more of a, you call it low growing for a flannel bush because they can get humongous, like 20 to 40 feet tall and wide. This one's going to be wider than it is tall, eventually. And you can see all the native bees on it right now. Yeah. It's evergreen. It's fabulous. You just don't want it where people are going to brush by it because it has hairs on the leaves and bees. They're very itchy. This is a low-growing, spreading sage. It's called Salvia Bees Bliss because the bees do love this one. They love all sages, but they especially love this one. And what I like is it chokes out the weeds, and it has these beautiful purple flowers in the spring. So this is the Pollinator Garden, where it's just not quite there yet. We're still working on it. We planted another St. Catherine's lace back there just recently. We're hoping that having better drainage there and more sun will help that one get established. And there's some showy milkweed that's just coming up. Milkweeds wait until it's, generally they wait till it's nice and warm before they pop up each year. And that's the host plant of the monarch butterfly, the showy milkweed, as well as the narrow leaf milkweed. So the pollinator garden is basically everything from, we tried to put a lot of pollinators close to the windows because that's where the children's library is, and we want them to be able to see out and see all the pollinators on the plants. This is California buckwheat. This is a fabulous pollinator plant, and it'll have umbel flowers that are kind of creamy in the summertime, and then in the fall they change to like a russet color. Rust, I guess you call it.
It's like little pom-poms.
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
what I call that's a bulletproof plant. That one likes dry sun. Lots of sun, lots of dry. And we have more Foothill sage over here.
But you should rub the leaves and smell them. It's fantastic.
So fragrant. These will get purple flowers on them. This one, I think this is Winifred Gilman.
Yeah.
Is that right, Madeline?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the way I can remember Winifred Gilman has the red stems. I think that one's Pozo Blue.
That's good to know. I
Yeah.
didn't think about that.
So they're both Cleveland sage hybrids. There's 8 plants in the garden that are endemic to California, and the rest of them are endemic to the western United States. Like redbud, you see redbuds in a lot of western states. You see redbuds in the east too, but this one is a western redbud, Cercis occidentalis. Ceanothus is endemic to California. It's one of the endemics. This is a cultivar known as concha. So the reason that we use this one, deer love ceanothus. Even though some books may tell you that they don't, they love the ceanothus. They tend not to eat the small leaf ceanothus as opposed to the large ones like Ray Hartman. But what we have noticed the deer love to do with ceanothus is the bucks will rub their horns or antlers. Yeah, they try to get the velvet off of them. So they did some damage to both of these, and that's why we had to cut them back. And we had taken the cages off of them because we didn't see any nibbling damage, but then the bucks got to it. So we're protecting those till they get a little larger to be able to handle it. This is called monkey flower or mimulus, sticky monkey flower. And you can see a lot of it in the area. Most of them have gold flowers around here. It's also a great pollinator plant. Yeah, the flowers look like little monkey faces. So we have some more of those Cleveland sages here. One of them is blooming.
I actually was.
So you can see that beautiful purple rolled flowers of that one. And this is a white sage. We've never, this was actually planted here in the old garden. It should be quite a lot bigger than this by now. So it's got drainage, it's got plenty of sunshine. This is the San Gabriel variety of the flannel bush, so it's going to be much bigger.
Here, do it on this.
Which we hope is an attractor to the garden, because when it's in bloom and it's humongous, it's a sight to behold.
And so about,
It's getting there.
because now we do our meetings,
The thing about flannel bushes is
you know, the board meetings and
once they're established, they don't want any summer water
possibly doing
at all.
on site.
Yeah, we have some poppies. We're going to be collecting seeds. And here's a nice swath of deer grass. So this deer grass, the indigenous Californians like deer grass because they use it in their basketry. And as fantastic stewards of the land, they used to burn it so that they could get nice straight inflorescences to use for their basketry. We will be cutting these back. They only really need cutting back about every 2 to 3 years. We cut some of them back, as you can see, they're already greening up, and it's probably a month after they got cut back, 3 weeks to a month. they green up almost immediately. So it's hard to cut them back when they look so pretty like this. But like this one's getting pretty. This one's probably not getting as much water as the other ones. This is another really garden-worthy plant. It can take very little water in the summertime, and if you give it water, it's not going to die. Okay, native plants definitely don't take as much water. They're not no maintenance. They're definitely lower maintenance than other plants, but they're not no maintenance. If you want something that you don't have to do much with, Manzanita is great. There's a Manzanita for everybody. There's a tall Manzanitas. This large hedge right there, that's a Manzanita. It's a hybrid Manzanita by the name of Howard McMinn, which is a really garden-worthy Manzanita. So it can take the dryness, and it can also take some water. There are low-growing Manzanitas, and then there are some that get 2 to 3 feet tall and maybe 6 to 8 feet wide. So they take up a lot of real estate, which is nice for more bang for your buck. They look great year-round. There's also mule's ears in here. They get these long sword-like leaves, and then a bright yellow flower that kind of is in the sunflower family, I believe. And we're still working this out. We haven't had great luck with the Waivia. A true California native is endemic to California, so that means it only grows here in California, in the California floristic province. But we have a lot of cultivars that nurserymen have grown in order to get native plants into people's gardens, so that they can get the benefits of all the attracting all the beneficial insects and the birds, and providing habitat for wildlife, and maybe creating corridors, green corridors for all the wildlife that need the habitat so badly. So cultivars were bred from California natives. Some California natives grow in California, and they may grow in other areas of the western states as well. But there's a lot of plants that are strictly endemic to California. We'd like to be able to keep to plant things that are strictly local to El Dorado County, but it's really hard to find those plants in nurseries and to make it look good year-round and have a nice variety. Of a garden this size, that would be difficult to do, in my opinion. The best place to buy California natives is through the California Native Plant Society chapters, because almost every chapter has a native plant sale, at least once a year, if not twice. At the moment, we have 2 sales a year, so we just finished our spring sale, and we do it online. Since the pandemic, we've been holding them online, so people can order plants online, pay for it online, and then we have one day in which they come and pick their plants up. So that's usually either the first or second weekend in April and the first or second weekend in October. October is the better month to plant your natives. You will have to protect them from deer if you're in a deer area, because even plants that the deer may not touch or gently graze when the plant is established, they're hungrier in the fall. There's not much available for them to eat, and they love the succulent new growth on young plants, so you do have to protect them. So there's native plant sales are the best. The California Native Plant Society has kicked off a new campaign called Bloom California, and what they're getting, they've partnered with nurseries all over the state to get them to provide more native plants and sell more native plants in the nurseries. I know El Dorado Nursery in Shingle Springs is a partner of Bloom. I would say go to your local nursery, even if it's Green Acres, and ask for natives and tell them that you would like them to stock natives. And I think that's the best way for them to put them in their inventory. You're watering less, you're not less, if any, fertilizer. You don't need pesticides because these native plants attract so many, such a variety of beneficial insects that keep the bad bugs at bay, so to speak. And the wildlife is incredible. I mean, there's a saying, if you plant it, they will come, and it really is true, and especially if you have a nice variety of native plants. You've got the layers for the birds, which is you've got, trees and shrubs where they can get out of harm's way when they need to, while still being fire safe. Less maintenance, and for me, there's the connection to the plants that, I don't know, it's just a connection to, they call it a sense of place. You're growing the plants that want to be here, that were designed to be here. And you're learning these plants, and you feel more connected to where you are.